The boarding gate buzzed with impatience. Flight 247 to New York was running behind schedule. In the line for first class was a sea of designer suits, rolling briefcases, and quiet arrogance. Among them stood Marcus Hale, a tall black man in a tailored Navy suit, holding his boarding pass with quiet confidence. He wasn't just another executive rushing for a meeting. He was the CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech firms in the country, recently featured on the cover of Forbes. Ooh. But none of that mattered to the woman at the counter. Sir, she said, her tone clipped, I think you're in the wrong line. Economy class is boarding later. Marcus looked at his ticket, then back at her. First class, he said calmly, offering the pass, a C2A. She took it, frowned, and then forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Must be some kind of upgrade. We'll verify it. A murmur rippled through the line. A few passengers turned to look, some curious, others smirking. One man in a gray suit whispered something to his wife that made her stifle a laugh. Marcus felt it, the same quiet, cold wall he'd felt too many times before. He stayed silent. He'd learned long ago that anger rarely changed minds. It just gave them what they expected. Sir, you'll have to step aside while we sort this out, the agent said, motioning toward the side. Marcus exhaled slowly and stepped away. The line moved on without him. Minutes passed. The first-class cabin filled up. The agent avoided eye contact. When Marcus finally asked again, she sighed. I'm sorry, Mr. Hale, but your seat's been reassigned. There was a system issue. He blinked. Reassigned to whom? She shrugged. It's taken care of. We can offer you a seat in economy, or you can take the next flight. Behind him, a man with a Rolex leaned close to another passenger and muttered, typical. Always playing the victim card. Marcus's jaw tightened, but before he could speak, an older woman with silver hair and a red scarf stepped forward from the first-class line. She looked at Marcus, then at the agent. That's not right, she said softly. I saw him check in before me. The agent stiffened. Ma'am, please. Yeah, but the woman didn't move. No, I don't care who he is or who you think he isn't. You don't treat people like this. Well, Marcus gave her a small, grateful nod. It's okay, ma'am. I'll take the next flight. Her eyes softened. You sure? He smiled faintly. I'm used to turbulence, just not always in the sky. He turned away, walked toward the waiting area, and sat down. He opened his laptop, checking his emails, pretending not to care. But 28 minutes later, everything changed. The announcement came first, a woman's voice, shaky and nervous. Ladies and gentlemen, we're temporarily delaying Flight 247 due to a technical issue. Please remain seated. Passengers groaned. The flight attendants whispered to each other. And then one by one, federal officers entered the gate area. Marcus looked up, confused. They moved straight to the counter, where the same gate agent stood frozen, pale as paper. The lead officer leaned in and spoke quietly, his badge flashing in the fluorescent light. Within minutes, they escorted her away. The murmur spread like wildfire. Something dangerous? Who was there, Threat? Marcus just watched, Threat. Marcus just watched. Then from the corner of his eye, he saw the older woman in the red scarf walking toward him again. It looks like your seat wasn't the only thing that was reassigned, she said softly. He frowned. What do you mean? She hesitated, then leaned closer. I used to work for the Fed. When they pulled you out of line, I saw her texting someone. Looked like she was sending a picture of you. I reported it to the airport supervisor. Marcus blinked. You what? She smiled faintly. Old habits. I may be retired, but I still know what suspicious behavior looks like. Before he could respond, the intercom buzzed again. Attention passengers. Due to a security breach, all outgoing flights from Gate 14 are grounded until further notice. The collective groan this time was louder. But Marcus wasn't listening. He turned toward the window, watching as airport security surrounded the plane. The pilot was standing outside talking to officers, his face drawn with confusion. Then the truth began to unfold. Whispers turning into headlines within minutes. The gate agent, the same one who'd humiliated him, had been under investigation for months. She was part of a small insider group selling passenger data to foreign networks. Names, travel routes, payment info. High-value targets were the focus. CEOs, politicians, and defense contractors. Marcus Hale, the black CEO she thought didn't belong in first class, had been flagged in her system. She wasn't just profiling him. She was selling him. And now, because of that one small act of bias, her cover had unraveled in front of an entire terminal. Marcus sat still, the reality sinking in. His first reaction wasn't anger. It was disbelief. How fair something so small, so ordinary, could turn into something life-altering. The woman in the red scarf sat beside him. You saved that plane, she said softly. He shook his head. I know you did. She smiled. Oh, no, you did, just by being calm. If you'd yelled, if you caused a scene, they'd have sent you away and she'd have slipped right through. Sometimes grace is louder than fury. He looked at her, a quiet gratitude in his eyes. They sat there in silence, the hum of the airport shifting around them. A few passengers who watched the earlier exchange now avoided his gaze. One of them, the man with the Rolex, walked over hesitantly. Oh, man, he said awkwardly, sorry about earlier. I didn't realize. Marcus met his eyes. You realize exactly what you want to do? He said gently. We all do. The man nodded slowly, embarrassed, and walked away. Hours later, when the story broke on national news, Marcus's phone buzzed nonstop. Reporters, colleagues, even government officials wanted statements. He declined all of them. Instead, he called his assistant and said, I'll reschedule the meeting. I'll be taking the next flight and book an extra ticket. Extra? She asked. He smiled faintly. Yeah, for a friend I just made. He looked across the terminal, where the woman in the red scarf was sipping tea, her posture calm, her expression warm. When they finally boarded the next flight, together, the first-class crew greeted them with visible warmth. No hesitation, no question. The flight attendant, a young man with kind eyes, took Marcus's ticket and said, Mr. Hale, welcome aboard. We're honored to have you. Marcus smiled. No thanks. Just glad to finally be on time. The woman beside him chuckled. After all this, I think we've earned some peanuts and peace. They settled in. The hum of the engines rose, and the plane began to taxi down the runway. As the clouds swallowed the horizon, Marcus turned his gaze toward the window, the sunlight flickering across his reflection. He wasn't thinking about the humiliation or the headlines or even the irony that his denial had led to an entire airline being grounded. He was thinking about something else entirely. Something that stayed with him long after the flight touched down in New York. How sometimes the smallest moment of injustice could ignite a chain reaction far bigger than anyone expected. And how sometimes grace wasn't just survival, it was power. 28 minutes. That's all it took to change everything. Not through anger, not through force, but through patience, dignity, and the courage to stay calm when the world tried to shake you. Marcus Hale didn't lose his seat that day. He earned his wings.